Now, prosecution is very, very, very attractive. I'm really glad that you, Mr. Benoist, talk about the Darknet. We had that before, and it is spooky. The stage is yours.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. I'm here to present you in a short presentation a new project we are starting in the Berner Fachschule, the Bern University of Applied Sciences. And this is a project about an observatory of darknet markets. So first, maybe most of you know about darknet markets. So they have already seen these websites where you can buy almost everything. So you can buy here some driving licenses for quite a lot of money, so 600 francs or something like this, maybe 800 francs. So it's expensive, but you have real fake IDs. As you can see the advantage, the disadvantage, you have a real market where you can see and you can measure, and every customer give ratings, and so you have real vendors that are interested in customer relationship. So it's something where you can find almost a lot of interesting things. You need some specifications, so you need to have some Tor or I2P to anonymize your network. And you cannot pay with credit cards because you can buy credit cards accounts here. So, and the same for PayPal. You can also buy some PayPal accounts full of gray money, or accounts for people that have their own money. And so you can buy almost everything here. You need to pay in Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum, Monero. Monero is en vogue now on this website. So here is another website, Wall Street Market. Here you can find all sort of stuff. So I don't know what the name of this is, or this is grass, I suppose. I'm not a specialist, but they are. And so they know what it is about, and they know what they sell, and everybody that buys there must know that it is serious, and who is a serious seller, who is not, who is selling something very interesting, who is something crappy. And here there are a lot of data that are interesting, and a lot of questions also. So here are some questions I have, because I read in the newspaper, the police sized a big website, and they sized it, and it had a $1 billion exchange on it. Okay, yeah, very impressive. And now, but there is no $1 billion exchange at that time. There was no $1 billion exchange on the Bitcoin blockchain, and it was a proof that it was totally crappy what they said. So now we need some figures. I want to have some figures to say, yes, this is the turnover of this market, this is the turnover of this seller, this is the turnover of this one. And so in order to know who are the best sellers, who are the big fish to catch, and not to have some ideas to paint something on the wall. No, just to have figures to be able to say who are the sellers, what do they sell, in which countries are they placed, what do they really sell. So for the first look at those markets, it seems that there is a lot of drug to sell, grass mainly. But if you look at the figures, you see other things that appear. For instance, money laundering as a service is something that you can find on these markets. And who are the buyers? Where are they? This is information I'm interested in, and I hope you are also. So which method did we use for having such figures? First, crawling. So the information is open source. You can navigate on all these markets. That's an advantage of markets. They are open for everybody. You need to register. You need maybe two-factor authentication. It's quite complex, but you can authenticate there. And we created 20 accounts or 50 accounts, and we started some different crawlers that gathered a lot of information on these different websites. And here we collected figures on the offers. It's not so easy because they don't like it. They don't like it, so they have CAPTCHAs. So before you have the login page, you have a CAPTCHA. And you have some other CAPTCHA inside the pages. So they don't like it. And they monitor their services. If a user sends more than one request every 5 seconds or every 10 seconds, I don't know, they will skip this account for a certain amount of time. Or if it is regular, they will delete this account. So you need to reinstall an account and so on. It's a problem. So you need here to be very careful and to do some crawling very nicely. That's the reason why the 20 accounts. So, and we need to do this quite regularly because I want to have the turnover of each of the sellers. So I need to have the reputation, because inside the reputation, you got a lot of information. And I need to gather it quite regularly in order to have some information that is sound and that gives us information about the turnover. We do the evaluation of the turnover because they give us the possibility to measure the evaluations of the users and also the number of sellings, because the reputation is the only thing you own inside such a website. A seller is nothing worth if he doesn't have a good reputation. And the website builds a reputation, not just the reputation of what have been sold inside this market, this typical market, but on what have been sold on all sorts of markets. So they can gather the reputation on different markets also. So we need to gather all this information to evaluate more or less the turnover of each of the seller and the turnover of all the markets as a global market. And what we got is a list of the largest seller and what they sell also. And so what is the most valuable on this website? What is sold, really sold, not just to sell, and and how much? We used a second approach, which is orthogonal, which is the blockchain analysis. You all know about Bitcoin and the blockchain and okay. So what means the blockchain? Everybody sees everything about transactions on the net. So for Bitcoin Cash, it's all known. So you just need to have the standard implementation, and you have the blockchain on your computer. You can study and you can see all the transactions for all the world. But the users on such markets, they use techniques to prevent the recognition. So they don't reuse the same account twice. So they use an account, and when they spend the money, the rest of the money goes in a second account. There is nothing left, and so on. So they have a lot of different structure to hide their identity. So it's the tumblers, for instance, to hide the identity of the transactions. They use also multisig. What is multisig is in a world where you don't trust that much people. You don't trust anybody inside such markets. You don't even trust the market. And so if you don't trust the market, you don't send the money to the market that could escrow the money and send it back to the seller if the good has been delivered. Such you create a multisig inside Bitcoin or Bitcoin Cash, and the multisig is somewhere where you, 3 persons, have the key of a safe. These 3 persons is the seller, the buyer, and the market. And you need 2 of them to open the treasure, the safe. And when it is open, you can get the money. So that's normal transaction. So if the market goes away, it doesn't take too much money. It doesn't have access to this money, for instance. And normally, you should use a different key for every transaction. But here, it is difficult to have a private key generated by a third party, by a user, on the fly. It is something, it seemed to be difficult for me to have the different keys for each of the transactions if you are not online to change the key. It's something I didn't understand. So I had the idea, it is not possible that they change the key. So they don't change the key. They have a lot of keys, but they don't change the keys. They have a list of keys. And so all the transactions can be marked, and we can follow the transactions that have multi-sig feature. And so for Wall Street market, we had the opportunity to follow a lot of transactions for Wall Street market, because Wall Street market, we use the same set of keys. And so we had the opportunity also to see that they transfer all the fees on the same address. And they have the same frame every half an hour. Every half an hour, they transfer the money to the same fee address and to the vendor also. But here we don't know anything about the vendor. What we know is about this fee address. So we know all the transactions on this particular market, on the Wall Street market. We know all the transactions go through these transitional addresses that are marked because they point afterward to the fees. And with this, we got interesting results. With the scrolling, we had some figures about the things that are to sell, the price, and who are the best vendors, and so on. So here you have the number of products. You see mainly drugs and chemicals, and fraud a little bit, but mainly drugs and chemicals for Alphabet, which was seized for 2 years, I suppose. And now this is the data for Wall Street market. We have the turnover for Wall Street market by the half an hour. So we can gather figure for months. So we see the figures. Wall Street market is $2.5 million per month market. So it's not huge. It's much smaller than a Migros or a Co-op, if you compare. It can be compared with the drug scene in beer. It's not the drug scene in a big city like London or Paris. It's just the drug scene of a small city. So here we have figures. We know for sure. And that's comparable with a small city drug scene, not with a big, large city. So for the worldwide, so that's figures that here we are sure about. So we have also the price of a transaction. The transactions are by $150 approximately. Here we correlated also the Bitcoins with the Bitcoin amount. And here it is the most interesting figure, I suppose. Here is a transaction per hour. I thought that darknet market occur more in the US and in West Coast because everything happens in the West Coast. And here we had this figure. Ah, shit. When it is the evening in the West Coast, nobody buys anything. It's on the evening in West European countries that it is interesting time. So here it is a figure that shows that the major part of the market of Wall Street market is Europe, Western Europe, from the time being. The time frame is not for China, it's not for West Coast, it's maybe East Coast if they are working in the morning, but it is most probably West European countries, I suppose. So here it is a new figure that we didn't know about before. The goal of the project was to have an overview of all the transactions on the Darknet. And we still have some things to do. So we need a tool to analyze data. We have a lot of data now from different markets, from existing ones or not existing anymore. We need to analyze this. There is a new platform, Monero, which is very important, which is saying it is more private. Maybe. We will see. we need to analyze darknet forums also, but here reputation of the users plays a big role, and to acquire a reputation for a crawler that could be discovered in a minute, it's something you need to be more careful in the crawling here, because if you needed some days to get a good reputation in a forum and to access the hidden forums, it's not good to be kicked off in a minute. And what we plan to do is writing a report every year to state the darknet market status. What is the price of the cocaine? Does it change? Is it stable? Such information. What is the price of an exploit, for instance? What is the price of money laundering, money mule? Everything that is, for me, very interesting. If you want to know more about it, I think it is a quarter for now, you can ask me, Emmanuel Benoist, at bfh.ch, or you can read all these works from my students that are very interesting, and you have here different papers that could be interesting for you. Maybe you have questions, or we don't have the time.
Thank you very much. I am afraid we don't have too much time for too many questions.